Hey, listen to Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. This is Grady, and unfortunately I am still not well enough to be on the show, but luckily you get to listen to Josh talking to you again this week, and then hopefully I'll be good enough to go for next week. So, Josh, take it away again.
Thanks for that introduction. Yeah, you're stuck with me by myself again. Oh, well, I'll try not to burn the house down again. Alright, so last week we previewed NXT No Mercy. Oh, NXT No Mercy has happened. So let's talk about what happened. And then we have to preview WWE Fastlane because that's this weekend. Keep in mind, I'm recording this on Tuesday so that we can get it edited for you in time. So I don't even have NXT results. So I can't talk about anything that happened on NXT TV. But anyway, we should have plenty to talk about though between the two premium live events. So starting with NXT, the first thing we'll talk about is a match that was added after we recorded last week. And it was on the pre-show. Blair Davenport versus Kalani Jordan. And Blair wins. Not much else to say. It was just, I think, just to get them on the card. Even if it was the pre-show. Which I think was the first match on a pre-show in like 2 years? Been a long time. Alright. So, I want to talk about the NXT and North American Championships together. So I'm going to push those to the end. So let's start with Baron Corbin versus Braun Breaker. This was a fun match. It was fun. Baron and Braun brought it. Obviously, Baron Corbin won. Braun wasn't hurt by it because it was technically due to a distraction from Robert Stone, which continues the storyline with Von Wagner. And Baron Corbin moves on and does other things. As I said, would like this to have been a series of matches because I just think they're so amazing, and I think they worked really well together. But it doesn't seem to be the case. It looks like they're wanting to continue the Von Wagner story with Braun. And who knows what they're going to do with Baron. Alright, next up, we'll talk about Noam Dar versus Butch. Simply because I don't care about that cup. It was fine. I hate the rules, so I don't really care that much about the match. It was fine. It looks like there's more to this story. Might include Rich Holland. That could be interesting. Heck, I would say bring Tyler Bate up to the main roster. Stick him with Sheamus. Sheamus is injured. Make him manage Butch, Holland, and Bate, and let them go at it. I bet that would be fun matches. But as for this, I don't care. Pretty simple. Alright, now we have the Tag Team Championship match. The Family versus the Creed Brothers versus OTM versus Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. It was a fine tag team match. Everybody shined? And the Family retained, which is what really needed to be done. The Family only just recently won the titles. And as I said, I didn't really see anybody dethroning them, but if anybody did, it would be the Creed Brothers. I just think if you're going to put the titles on the Creed Brothers, I think it needs to be in a one-on-one situation. A regular tag team match. Which they may eventually build to. We don't really know for sure. But this is definitely the beginning, I think, to the tag team division in NXT is amazing. And the fact that they were able to put 4 tag teams in one match and there's still other options shows how lively it is down there. So let's go for it. Let's do this. Let's run them back. Any combination of these 4 teams, I'm all for it. Let's go. Because I want to talk about the 2 main men's titles together, unfortunately that means I have to talk about the main event before that. The main event was pretty good. It was Becky versus Tiffany Stratton for the NXT Women's Championship. Yeah, I didn't expect Becky to lose here. And now I don't know who steps up next. I think Becky is still trying to get Tegan Nox a match. Unfortunately, Becky wasn't cleared, so she couldn't wrestle on Monday. But this was a war. These 2 women brought it. And Tiffany Stratton is a much bigger star for having worked these 2 matches with Becky Lynch than she was going into those matches. It'll have to see where they decide to go with her going forward. But she's definitely stepping on a step above anybody else in NXT right now. I still think Lyra Valkyrie is the person that breaks this title reign of Becky Lynch, but I don't know how long it's going to be. For all we know, it could be Becky Lynch to the NXT pay-per-view at WrestleMania. Stand up, I think, and deliver. We don't know. But I just want to see more and more good matches. I want to see Becky elevate further and further and further the women down there. Alright. Well, I've been putting this off. Alright, so we have the NXT North American Championship and the NXT Championships, which are intertwined together. You had Trick Williams facing Dirty Dominic Mysterio for the North American Championship, and Ilya Dragunov versus Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship. I said I didn't think it would happen, but I wouldn't be surprised by it. I thought that if it happened, it would be because of the special guest referee. It wasn't. But Trick Williams is your new, as of 8 o'clock on Tuesday, before it's NXT occurred, your new NXT North American champion. And it was because Dominic Mysterio introduced the championship. It was a good match. I think Trick has everything you need to be a major, major player in WWE. I think he has better mic skills and charisma than Carmelo has. And he has fairly good in-ring skills. I think Carmelo has him in that department. But I think Trick Williams can be a major star. So I was all for Trick Williams being separated from Carmelo. And now he has the title that Carmelo had. Which brings us to the other match. Ilya Dragunov is your new NXT champion. I mean, what more can you say? Ilya earned this title match. He earned the win. And ultimately, I think it's going to result in a pretty darn good reign for him. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt, because that's what ended his UK reign. But anyway, the reason I wanted to talk to these two together is because I think we saw the hints at the next feud for Trick Williams in between him winning it and Carmelo losing his. You see, during one of the backstage segments, they showed Carmelo congratulating him, right? In the hug, he put his hand over the NXT North American champion. The reason I bring that up is because when he lost to Iliad, he hugged Iliad, congratulating him on winning the title, right? He didn't touch the championship at all. So I believe that that is going to be one of those, like, smoking guns when we look back, saying that's the point where this feud started. And we're going to get a Trick Williams versus Carmelo Hayes for the NXT North American Championship feud. And I am for it. I want to see it. Because I want to see Carmelo Hayes put Trick over before going to the main roster. Give him the torch that he's so valiantly defended for the last 2 years. And let him develop on his own while he goes and does him things on the main roster. Well, I've talked about NXT for 12 minutes. It's time for the break where we're going to be playing our new NXT Champions theme, Ilya Dragunov. Alright, and we're back. So, now that we're done with that side of the show, now we have to move on and talk about and preview WWE Fastlane. And again, I have to reiterate, this is before even NXT is taped. So, there are chances that on SmackDown, things get added to the event. I can only talk about what is currently announced as of Tuesday. And so, we'll start it up. The first match is the LWO versus the Hurt Profits. The LWO featuring Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, and we don't know, as of Tuesday, whether it's going to be Joaquin Wild or Cruz del Toro as the third. I'd say probably Wild, to be honest. I think he's better than Cruz, and I think you'd rather have him working with them anyway. I think this is Bobby and the Street Profits, the Hurt Profits, are going to win this match. They're going to win it dominatingly. They're going to leave the LWO laying, and then after the match, I think Santos Escobar is going to turn on Rey. And the LWO becomes the NXT stable, whose name I can't pronounce. Can't ever pronounce. That's why I need you back. Grady. Alright, moving on. That was the... we'll move on to the other match that isn't for a title. And it is also a tag team match. I mean, it's just with 2 less people involved. We have John Cena and LA Knight versus Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. This is pretty easy. Pretty simple match, really. This is all about elevating LA Knight and getting him work in with the main storyline for SmackDown, being the Bloodline. I think LA Knight pins Jimmy, and I think we get the passing of the torch kind of moment for Cena and Knight, and then we get Solo Sikoa laying Jimmy Uso the F out and showing once and for all that Jimmy Uso is out of the Bloodline. I mean, this is just another twist and turn in the Bloodline storyline. And I kind of think at the next event, which is some random place, event in some random country somewhere that doesn't seem to matter, we'll see John Cena versus LA Knight. I think they want to go all in on Cena raising LA Knight. And on an event, a premium live event, I think that's pretty fun place to do it. And honestly, I don't know what the next step is for the Bloodline, but I definitely know that Roman Reigns is not going to be happy come next Friday when Solo reports to him having lost this match. All right, next up, we got the Men's Tag Team Championship. The Judgment Day versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. This was announced on Monday. I don't know what to think about this. Obviously, the Judgment Day haven't had these titles long. But I always thought that maybe it was a situation where they wouldn't hold them for long. And suddenly, the Judgment Day has some cracks in it. I mean, they just lost their first championship. And depending on the results of NXT, they may still be without a championship, and possibly without Dominic. I could definitely see them losing here. The problem is, it's just a random assortment of main eventers, which is WWE's favorite thing to do with tag teams. Throw two main event guys together and let them be stars together temporarily in a storyline. This is also an interesting way that you can get Cody over to SmackDown without Cody being directly on SmackDown's roster. So I think I just talked myself into picking Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. Yeah, I was 60-40 leaning towards Judgment Day. I'm now flipped. I am going Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso as your new, undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. Well, we have two more matches to talk about. We have Io Sky versus Asuka versus Charlotte Flair for the Women's Championship. I think this is going to be a phenomenal triple threat match for this title. I think all three women are the best in the ring. You have Charlotte Flair, who's arguably the greatest of all time. Asuka, who is arguably the greatest Japanese wrestler of all time for the women. And then you have Io Sky, the current champion, who you could also make an argument for being the greatest woman wrestler from Japan. So, I think these three women are going to tear the ever-loving house down. But at the end of the day, Io Sky retains, and I'm also calling a shot here. I think this is where we see the return to WWE of Kairi Sane. I think Kairi returns and makes it clear she wants a shot at Io. She wants Io's championship. I love the idea. I would love the idea of Asuka versus Io versus Kairi. And just let that be like, do a premium live event in Japan and have that be the main event. That would be phenomenal. Obviously, you guys are getting one in Australia, the next door neighbor, in February. And it's a pretty important one, too, with it being Elimination Chamber, which sets up the main events and stuff, and all the feuds and stuff for WrestleMania. I still remember the Beast in the East special they did a few years back, which was it was incredible to see. And I'd love to see another one. I'd love to see another Japanese special, because I think it would be phenomenal. And I think those three women would put on a show for the ages. All right, we have one match left that's been announced, and that's Seth freaking Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura in a last man standing match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Well, since Roman Reigns not involved, there should be a spot of somebody being handcuffed and taking a full minute to try to get unhooked from. So that's a positive, right? I think these two are going to knock each other out. I don't think there's going to be a winner. And I think at that event that I referenced earlier that I can't say the name of or say where it's from, we'll have the final match between these two. But I think these two end up in a Shawn Michaels, Triple H situation where they knock each other out. They both are trying their hardest to climb back to their feet and fall right before the 10 is counted, so they're not able to grab the win. And then we get a 3 stages of hell match at the next pay-per-view. I do think it's going to be an absolute bloodbath. I think they both could end up being busted open the hard way by the end of this. I think it should be a fun match to watch. I just don't think anybody wins it. I just think it's going to be a no contest. And so let's see here. Okay. We've got a few minutes left, so I guess I'll jump over to Raw. And I'll talk about the reformation of DIY. Because we had an Intercontinental Championship match that was a bomb match, by the way. The good kind of bomb. Gunther faced off against Tommaso Ciampa. Gunther won the match. And then Imperium beat down Ciampa, only for Johnny Gargano to return and save him. We are going to finally get that as a storyline. We're going to get back DIY, get them back in the tag team division, which they're sorely needed, and possibly have them hanging around Gunther in his Intercontinental Championship reign. I don't really know, but I'm for more and more Ciampa versus Gunther matches just because they're fire, and we all love Gunther. We all love Tommaso Ciampa, or Tomato Ciampa, as my partner usually says. Yeah, it's a fun match, and any time that we get DIY together, whether they're in the ring as foes or in the ring as partners, it's a fun time. And let's go for it. I'll talk about more hints for Drew McIntyre. I mean, he had a segment with The Miz, basically saying he owes nobody anything, and that he doesn't, so that's why he doesn't help anybody. And that he believes that Rhodes forgiving Uso or Jay is a sign of weakness, and it's just further slowly building that heel Drew McIntyre, the one we've been needing sorely for a while. And he had a good match with The Miz. It's what it was. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's in the cards, and I could see Drew costing Cody and Jay the titles. I don't know. Maybe after they win them, they face the Street Profits, and Drew costs them the titles. And that's how the Street Profits get the titles. Who knows? Anyway, it looks like we're at the end of the show now. So, I've done my best to try to fill in for Grady in these last couple weeks. Hopefully, he's feeling better, and we'll be back next week, and we're back to normal. Until then, bye-bye!
Thank you very much for that, Josh. You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D up, our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D up, our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling R&D up. And hopefully I'm back to see you next week.